Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of Flow Builder series. So today we are going to learn the use of assignment, decision and loops in Lightning Flow. So I have jotted down a scenario over here, which we'll go ahead and implement. And while we implement the scenario, we'll learn about assignment, decision and loops in the Lightning Flow. So this is a scenario. So I have two custom fields on my account object. The first one is onboarding status and the second one is cutoff point date, right? So for the demo purpose, I have created these two fields, but as per your requirement, I think you would be able to relate how you can use this particular example in order to execute your own requirement or scenario. All right. So the scenario is that whenever the onboarding status field of account is complete, it's a pick list value. Okay, so it's a pick list field. So whenever this pick list field has a value of complete, then what we have to do is we have to basically get all the opportunity records of that particular account, and we have to check whether the stage is so basically the stage should not be closed, lost and closed won, right? And if the opportunity stage is not closed, lost and closed won, then we have to update the opportunity close date with accounts cutoff point date, right? So there are 3 points to keep in mind. The first point is that accounts onboarding status should be complete. Okay, so when that is complete, you have to query all the related opportunities of that particular account, and then you have to filter out those opportunities based on the stage name. So the stage name should not be closed won or closed lost, right? And if you get that opportunities after the filter, you have to update the close date of those opportunities with the accounts cutoff point date. Okay, so before I go ahead, let me show you how it's going to look on the org. So this is my org and this is my account. Okay, so now let's say here are those two fields, right? So if I change the onboarding status to complete, the moment I change the onboarding status to complete, what should happen? This cutoff point date of account should be stamped on the close date of the opportunities. But on which opportunities? Wherever the stage is not closed won or closed lost. So for example, in this particular case, we have 3 opportunities on this account, right? So when I'm changing the onboarding status to complete, it should take the cutoff point date from the account, and it should search for the opportunities where the stage is not closed won and closed won. So that in that case, it's going to pick these two opportunities where the stage is prospecting, and for the second opportunity, the stage is prospecting too, right? So for these two opportunities, it should update the close date with the accounts cutoff point date. So that's the requirement that we have. Okay. So the second thing is that we will be actually calling this particular flow, the one that we are going to create, using the process builder. Okay, because the process builder can identify the account, the any change on the account. And what I want to do is that every time I'm creating an account or updating an account, I want to call the process builder. And when the process builder is called, process builder basically will pass you the information of two things. The first thing is it will pass you the information of onboarding status. Basically not pass the information of onboarding status on the process builder itself. You can put a criteria that it should only get fired if the status is complete. Okay, so that is the first condition that we would be putting on the process builder. The second thing that we want to pass from the process builder is the cutoff point date, right? Because this cutoff point date we will be using on the flow to update the opportunities close date, right? So from the process builder, what and all you'll be passing, the first thing is to put the criteria if the onboarding status is complete. But to map the fields, you would be passing cutoff point date. That's one thing. The second thing is account record ID, right? Account ID, because in your flow, you would be getting all the related opportunities record, right? And in order to get these opportunity records in your flow, you would need to know which account it is related to, right? So that is why we would be needing the account ID. Okay, so 3 things on the process builder. First one is the criteria that you have to check if the onboarding status is complete, right? That's one. The second thing is that you have to pass information of two fields. First one is cutoff point date, because we need this in order to update the close date of the opportunities. The third is the account record ID, nothing but account ID, right? So that when the process builder calls the flow, in the flow, when you query all the opportunities, when you get the records of all the opportunities, and in the flow, you would be applying this filter, right? The opportunity stage is not closed won or closed lost. So that way you will get these two records in your flow, right? Based on the filter that you would be applying in your flow. And after that, the a cutoff point date that you have passed from the process builder, that cutoff point date, you have to map it to a variable that you would be creating in your flow. And then that variable you would have to assign when you're updating the opportunities in the flow. Okay. So don't worry about it if you're not understanding it. I will go step by step and you will understand that how this can be executed. Okay. So the first thing that we discussed, let's just first create a flow and then we can proceed. So auto launch flow. So I am going back to the account. What and all do I need? I need the cutoff point date and I also need the account ID, right? So I'm going to create two variables. Let's just first switch it to freeform. So variable, and the first thing that I need is account ID from the process builder, right? And if you remember, again, I am receiving this, I would be receiving this value from the process builder. So I don't need to keep it as record ID because you have to keep the API name as record ID if you are fetching the record ID from the current page, right? So account ID and the data type can be text, text, available for input because I would be getting this from the process builder. Then I have to create another resource for cutoff point date to receive cutoff point date. And this also, this is a date, right? So you can select date and done, right? So now we have two variables that we have created, that the values that we want to receive from the process builder. Okay. So I have this in place. Now I will go to the, go here and let me try to reduce it a little bit. All right. Okay. So now using these variables, when the process builder calls this flow, what should the flow do? The flow should first be getting all the opportunity records, right? Then you can basically use that opportunity records to for an iteration. Basically, let's say for in this particular example, for this account, when the flow will pass you the account ID and the cutoff point date. So using the account ID, you should get all the opportunity records, right? And when you get all the opportunity records, you would have to iterate over all the opportunity records in order to check all the conditions, right? Like whether the stage is like, the stage should not be closed won or closed loss. So you would be filtering out on the opportunity records, right? And once you filter out the opportunity records, you also have to map this account ID that you have received from the process builder to your get records. Okay. So for example, now I have to basically get all the opportunity records. So no worries, let's just write it first and then you'll understand. Get opportunity records. Okay, here, and object is opportunity. Right now here, what and all do I need? First of all, I want to apply the filter that the stage name should not be closed won and closed lost. So stage name does not equals to closed won, and then other condition, stage name does not equals to closed lost. And then I want the account ID. So on opportunity, we have a field called account ID, and this account ID I would be getting from the account ID variable that I've created, because that variable will be actually holding the value of the account ID that you would be passing from the process builder. Okay. So let's just assign it for now. And all the, I want to get all the opportunity records, right? Not just one. So all records, and I want to use my own resource that I've created. And now let's say, so whenever you write code, right? For example, let's say if you would have been implementing the same example using trigger logic, right? So when you're writing code, when you query all the opportunities or list of opportunities or any other object, you create a list, right? Where you actually keep all those records, right? So in this case, now in this particular example, if you take this example, I would be getting back 3 opportunities, right? So I need a container where I can keep all these 3 opportunities. So for that, I'm going to create another resource, which is nothing but record collection. So here you can call it as variable, API name, all opportunity list, and data type should be record because it's list of opportunities, right? So data type is record, allow multiple values, and then object is opportunity. Then I can click on done. Okay, so now in this opportunity list, what and all do you need from the opportunity which you would be actually using? The first thing is ID that comes by default. And then you need the close date, right? Because you want to update the close date with the accounts cutoff point date, right? So that is why you should also take the close date from the opportunities. So I'm going to search for close date and take this as well. Okay, and click on done. So I will get all the opportunity records, right? Now, whenever again, going back to the code logic, whenever you actually query records and keep it inside a list, before you start with your logic, you always check whether that list contains anything or not, right? So I want to check the size of the list, that if there are any opportunities, then only go ahead and execute the logic, otherwise don't. So I want to for that I can use a decision over here. So decision, and here name it as check opportunity size, and here name it something as size not null, and here opportunity list is null false. Okay, if it has something, so that is why I'm setting is null as false, and false you can choose from the global constant. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so now you have got all the list of opportunities here in get record element, and you have also checked the size of the opportunities. If the size is if there is any value in the opportunity list, then only you have to proceed. Now when you actually when you are proceeding, what and all do you want to do? So first of all, we will start iterating, right? If there are three opportunities, then we have to run a loop so that it can iterate over all the three opportunities and make the updates whatever you want to update, right? So let's just first take a loop here. And in the loop element, you have to define on which list you want to iterate the loop, right? So here, iterate over opportunity list. Okay. And then, so here collection variable. So where you have kept all your opportunities, the variable that we created in the previous step, right? Which is nothing but all opportunity list, right? Record collection variable. So you have to select this, and first item to last item. I want to iterate from first to last. So click on done. Okay. And here you can just attach this. So if the size is not null, then only it will go ahead and try to iterate the opportunities. Now, when you're iterating the opportunities, what are the steps that you want to do? You want to assign the cutoff point date to the close date, right? So you have to assign the cutoff point date to the close date, right? And you don't have to check the stage, because if you remember, we already checked the stage when we were getting the opportunities, right? So we have filtered out the opportunities with stage there itself. So basically, the moment, by the time when you reach at this stage, you will already have the opportunities, filtered opportunities, right? Where the stage was not closed on, or closed won or closed lost, right? So you will already be having only these two opportunities at this stage. Okay. So when you're okay, so I want to assign the cutoff point date to the close date, right? So here I have to create an assignment. So assign cutoff date. Okay, and here this was my variable cutoff point date, which is equals to cutoff point date of no. Okay, so what are you iterating over? You are iterating over the opportunities, right? And you have to assign the value from the, so basically, this cutoff point date, sorry, this shouldn't be like this. This should rather be like this, because you're iterating over the loop. And in the loop, what will you get? You will get the opportunity close date, right? Because you're iterating over opportunities. So select the loop and then search for the close date. So you got the close date. Now this close date, what is the value that you want to assign this close date with? That's nothing but the value that we already have in the cutoff date, because cutoff date, this value, cutoff point date, you have received in your this variable cutoff point date from the process builder, right? So this cutoff date, and then done. Okay. So this is your assignment. Okay. So now let's say you have assigned the date. Now what else you have to do? So every time if you again go back to the code, and if you do any such kind of operation where you're iterating over the loop and there are multiple records, right? Of course, that is why you're iterating over the loop. So every time you're making an update, you assign that particular instance to a list, right? So in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to create another resource. So list of opportunities to update. So basically we are creating another container, which is nothing but a list, right? And in that list, we will keep on adding all the new instances where we have assigned the cutoff date, right? So all these opportunities will actually get added to that particular variable. So I'm going to manager and creating a new resource over here. So variable and LST, LST opportunities to be updated. Okay, so this is the container that I'm actually creating, or you can say list that I'm creating, and I will keep on adding every instance of the iteration to this particular list, right? And at the end, I will just go ahead and make an update on this particular list. Okay, so here, and the data type should be record, and object is opportunity. Allow multiple values. Okay, so record, allow multiple values, and this is done. Now, so every time, so now in this case, right, let's say this loop is right now it is iterating over the first opportunity. So you have assigned the cutoff date to the close date, right? Now you have to add that particular instance of the opportunity to the variable that we have created. Okay, so I'm going to use another assignment. So here add instance to op list, and here the variable would be nothing but what we are getting from the list. And here, sorry, the variable that we have created, this is the variable that we have created, the resource that we just created, list opportunities to be updated, right? And what do we want to add over here? So I will first use add here, right? And then every iteration of the loop, the instance you want to add, right? So that instance will come from every iteration, right? And that's it. So the list that you just created, you're not doing anything, you're just assigning the updated instance of the opportunities from the loop. Okay, so I'm just clicking on done. And this, okay, so the assignment is done. Now, okay, now what do I want to do? I have assigned a cutoff date to the close date. I have kept every instance of the updated opportunities, not the updated opportunities, the ones to be updated inside another container, or you can say variable called list of opportunities to be updated. Now I want to make an update to the opportunity. I want to make an update call to the opportunity. Okay, so for that, you can use another element from here, update records. Okay, here, update opportunities, and use this IDs record collection. Now here, which is the list that you want to update, right? Because whenever you're performing a DML, right, insert, update, or anything else, you have a list, right? And on that list, you perform that DML. So in our case, it is the resource variable that we have created where we have kept all the opportunities with the assigned values, right? So if you click on this, this is the variable that we had created, and we have kept all the opportunity instances with the new assignments, correct? So I'll click on done, and this should actually, let's just keep it here. Let me just, and so basically it should happen for all the opportunities, right? If there are 3 opportunities, then the first opportunity, when it is iterating over the first opportunity, it will go and assign the cutoff date, add it to the variable list that we had created. Then it will execute for the second opportunity, and then for the third opportunity. And then when the loop terminates, what you have to do is you have to when the loop terminates, you have to call the update records element, which can actually update your opportunity. Okay, so this is it. So if we go through over it again, so here what we have done is we have created, basically received all the opportunities. When we are receiving all the opportunities, we have already filtered out on the opportunities where it is not closed won or closed lost, and we have taken the account ID from the process builder and assigned it to the account ID field of opportunity. Okay, and then we are also taking from the opportunities, we are also taking the close date along with the ID, because we want to update the close date. Okay, so once you have all the opportunities, you are checking the size of the opportunities. If it is not null, then you are iterating over every opportunity. And in every opportunity, you are assigning the opportunity close date with the cutoff date of the account, right? And that cutoff date you are receiving inside the cutoff variable. Where's the variable? Sorry. Here it is, right? So you are assigning the cutoff date to the opportunity close date, and that cutoff date variable value you're receiving from the process builder, because from the process builder, we would be passing the cutoff point date of account to this particular variable. Okay. And then once you assign that, you are just keeping every record into an opportunity list, adding every record into an opportunity list. Once you have that, once this is completed, once your loop is completed, you are updating that particular list of opportunities that you where you have all the current the opportunity list with the current assignment, right? The new assignment, right? So you're just making a DML over that. So update records, and then let me just save this, and let's just call it as update opportunity close date, and save this. I'm going to activate this as well. So I'm going to clone one of my process builders on account. So let me clone this one. And I want to run this when a record is created or updated. Okay, save. So when a record is created or updated, every time this will run. So here, if you remember, I wanted to put a condition, right? That if the account onboarding status is complete, then only it should run. So I'm just going to put that condition over here. So here, onboarding status should be complete. The second check that I want to put here is that if there's a value in the cutoff point date, otherwise I don't want to run this logic. So cutoff point date, is null, false. Okay. So if there's a value inside the cutoff point date, and if the onboarding status is complete, then only it's gonna run. Okay. I'm going to click on save. And here, let me delete this one and include our condition. So in the action, what I want to do is I want to call my flow date opportunity, and the flow is this one. And here, so if you remember, in the flow, we have created two values, right? We have created two variables. One is account ID, the other one is the cutoff point date, right? Because those are the two values that we want from process builder to the flow, so that the flow can actually, using the account ID that we would be passing from here, using that account ID, it's going to query all the opportunity records. It's going to get all the opportunity records, and then the cutoff point date that we would be assigning to the flow from here, the flow is going to use that cutoff date when it's going to iterate over the opportunities, and it has to update the opportunities close date with the cutoff point date. That is where it is going to use it. So the two variables that we have created should actually show up here. So account ID should be a field reference, and account ID choose, and then the cutoff point date, field reference, and cutoff point date. Okay. And save. I believe we are all set. So this process builder will be called whenever an account record is created or updated, and it's gonna run whenever the account onboarding status is complete and there's a value inside the cutoff point date. And if this condition meets, it's going to, in the action, it's going to call the flow, this flow, and in the flow we have two variables, and this particular process builder is going to pass account ID to the account ID variable of the flow and cutoff point date to the cutoff point date variable of the flow. Okay, so let me just save this and activate this. All right, now okay, so if I go back again, so every time an account is created or updated, this will be called and it will run as per the condition. It will assign the values to the flow while calling the flow, and when you go to the flow, it's going to use the account ID, right? Because now this is holding the value of the account ID that is created or updated by the user, and it is going to assign to the account ID field of the opportunity. And we are already putting this condition so that it can filter out the opportunity records as per the scenario that we want to implement. And I am also from the opportunity records that I'm getting, I am keeping the close date as well, because close date is something that I want to update on the opportunities, right? So here, once I get all the opportunities as per the conditions and the values that we have received from the process builder, I am going to run a decision over here to check if there is anything on the opportunity list or not, that the size should not be null. So when the size is not null, I'm iterating over all the opportunities. And here I am assigning the cutoff point date that I've received from the process builder in the variable cutoff point date to the close date of the opportunity. And then here I am keeping every instance of that opportunity wherever we have the changed or the updated assignment values inside another list of opportunity. Okay, that is another resource that we had created. And once it makes the assignment for all the opportunities, once the loop is terminated, I am updating that particular list. Okay, so my flow is activated, process builder is activated. Now we can go ahead and check this. All right, so let me just first flip this to something else in process. All right, okay, so now I have, when I update my onboarding status to complete, and I already have a value in the cutoff point date. And if you see these three opportunities, this will not get updated as this will be filtered out in the condition, right? But these two opportunities, close date should be updated with the cutoff point date of the account, right? Because I would be updating the onboarding status to complete. So here, complete and save. So here you can see 125 and 125. The cutoff point date got updated. Okay. So this is how you can execute such scenarios wherein you can use assignments, decisions, and loop as per your requirement. I believe that you got the basic idea of executing such scenarios or implementing such requirements. I would be creating few more videos wherein we would be using more controls, which we have in Lightning Flow, so that you'll have more idea on how to execute or implement more complex requirements. Till then, bye-bye.